Tension in the Strait of Hormuz has escalated. Americans have decided to block Persian Gulf. Operations in Lebanon continue. Now, will there be an end to the war in West Asia is the question. To discuss this, I'm joined by Ronny Leshno-Yaar, a veteran Israeli diplomat with decades of global diplomacy and security affairs and experience he has. He has also served as Israel's ambassador to European Union. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me from Tel Aviv.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So let me begin by asking you, why do you think that the talks failed in Islamabad?
Well, naturally, such negotiation take time, and we are only at the very first stage of the negotiation that may or may not last for many more stages, so we have to be patient. It may last for weeks, maybe even months. So it's just the beginning, and we have to watch them carefully and closely as Israelis, but we have also to be patient and understand this is the nature of negotiations when it comes to Iran. As we say in Israel, Iran is good in losing wars, but also is good in winning negotiations. So we have to be very worried now that they lost the war, that they will not win the negotiation.
Okay, so how do you explain this? The crisis that has followed. Iranians have turned the Strait of Hormuz into a toll plaza, taxing the ships to rebuild their economy, and now the Americans are saying that we'll blockade every ship. It will have a tremendous, huge impact on the economies of the global south.
Sure. First, let me say something at the outset as an Israeli. Tonight, we start in Israel commemorating Holocaust Commemoration Day. Every year in April, throughout one night, we commemorate the 6 million Jews that were massacred by the Nazi regime in Germany a millennium, between 1939 and 1945 in Europe. And for many Israelis, that's the most important event in Jewish history that is guiding us also today in the state of Israel. So just to set or give the setting for what I will say to you later on. Now, when it comes to this regime in Iran, this radical regime in Iran, I think that they are testing the American red lines. Provoking the Americans is part of this test of the red line. The danger in such a policy is that unintentionally you can cross the red line and expect a reaction that will be devastating for you. And what the Iranians did not take into account, in my opinion, is that they are not the only ones that can block the straits. The Americans can also block the strait. This is exactly what President Trump is threatening to do right now. Now, blocking the straits would be much more devastating for the Iranian economy than for the American economy. Now, true, in India, you have a totally different perspective, but India is not part of the game. You are victims of this event. For the Americans, they can block the strait without, with indifference. This is exactly what they are doing, and let's see the Iranian coping with that challenge.
Yes, the global south is going to suffer, but the question is there a way out? Because the positions aren't converging. They are verticals right now, maximalist positions.
Yes. Well, look, my perspective is an Israeli perspective. I'm not objective in this story. And for us, the issue is the regime in Iran. With a totally different regime in Iran, we will have totally different Iranian policy in the region. We will have peaceful relations between Iran and Israel, friendly relations between Iran and the US and the entire region. So as long as this regime is in Iran, I don't expect any change in the behavior of the regime. Even if there is, quote unquote, an agreement with the American like the one that we have in 2015, the Iranians will continue to arm themselves to the teeth, to try and get a nuclear bomb, to threaten their neighbors in the region, to finance and train and arm their proxies in the region. There will be no change in the Iranian behavior as long as this regime continue to govern in Iran. So we can expect many more years of conflict and war in the region as long as this regime is in power in Tehran.
So you have served in NATO as Israel's ambassador. You served in European Union as Israel's ambassador. There's great difference of opinion, if I may have to locate this entire thing within the Israeli-American and the European context, in what is happening in Iran. Neither the EU has come on the side of America, nor NATO has functioned. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, the European instinct is to appease the adversary. Europe is, and I can sympathize with that. Europe is a continent of peace, of stability, of prosperity, and they want to maintain this for many more years to go. They don't want to militarize the continent. It's not in the nature of Europe. They don't want to spend money, not to say waste money, on weapon systems, on drafting young Europeans to militaries, etc. The problem is that if you don't prepare for war, don't be surprised if war will come your way. And this is exactly what is happening in Europe, also in the context of the Russia-Ukraine war, but also in the Middle East. Whereas the American instinct and Israel, because of no other choice, is our instinct that if there is a threat, you have to defend yourself not only with diplomacy and economy, but also with military might. We don't like it. We would like to have peaceful relations with our neighbors, all of them. And thanks to Iran, now I expect much better relations between Israel and Arab countries in the Gulf, but not only in the Gulf. I think that it is also the American instinct to have peaceful relations with the world. But if we don't have any choice, instead of appeasing the adversary, giving up, making concessions, etc., we will try to show our muscles. And this is exactly what we are doing.
So is Israel a safer place today, if I may ask you, after the war? Or vulnerable?
Israel is in a state of war since day one of our existence as a sovereign state in 1948. In a few days, we will celebrate the 78th birthday of the State of Israel. We are a very ancient nation, 3,500 years, but a very young state. So from day one, we knew a state of war. And the trick in Israel, and for me also as a diplomat, was to maintain the longest possible intervals between wars. So sometimes we have decades of intervals, sometimes year of intervals, sometimes months of intervals, but we cannot, Israel, unlike our neighbors, we cannot allow ourselves to lose even one war. The first loss will be the last loss for the state of Israel. This is why we are practically in a state of war with the Islamic Republic of Iran since the very beginning of the Islamic Revolution. And this is very unfortunate, because before January 1979, we had great relations with Iran, economic, diplomatic, cultural, and so on and so forth. There is a big Iranian Jewish community that resides in Israel and also in Iran. We appreciate Iranian history and culture. We respect it. There is no reason why we cannot have great relations with them. The problem is not in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. It is in Tabriz, Asfahan, and Tehran.
You use the word negotiation, sir. There was an Iranian dispatch which said that what Americans lost in war, they are asking for us through negotiations. Your comment?
I don't know what they mean by that. Iran threatened Israel and threatened the U.S. and threatened Arab Gulf countries even before the first bullet was shot during this campaign. They threatened to annihilate the entire state of Israel. They called us a cancer in the heart of the Middle East. They threatened, and we are on the eve of Holocaust Commemoration Day. They threatened to kill all Jews in the state of Israel. They are killing Arab Israeli citizens. They fire rockets and missiles at holy places in Jerusalem. So I think that the answer should be given to you from the mullahs in Iran, not from me or my colleagues, my compatriots in Israel.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. So what is the reason why that Israel has been able to strike a friendly relationship with the Sunni countries, the GCC nation. But the Shia, which is the Iran, remains the enemy of Israel. What is the historical context of that?
Well, most Arab countries neighboring to Israel and also not so neighbors of Israel in the Maghreb and in the Gulf, they see identical interests for Israel and Arab countries. We are all threatened by radical Islam, not only Shia Islam, but also Sunni Islam, Muslim Brotherhood, namely. We are all friends of the US. We are all interested in stability, in prosperity, in economic development, etc. And they see Israel as a key to all those good things in the Middle East: security, prosperity, etc. In fact, we've established in the last few years fantastic relations with so many Arab countries, something that we never had before, especially in the Gulf, but also in the Maghreb. And of course, our two historical peace partners, Jordan and Egypt. They see how Israel can contribute to the societies in Arab countries through our innovation culture, through our science, through our medical societies, through economic relations, agriculture, etc. They benefit from relations with us, and we frankly benefit from relations with Arab countries. Whereas Iran brings only destruction and death and blood to the Middle East, we bring prosperity and hope to the Middle East. So I think that this is what they identified in Israel. The other thing was, of course, the fantastic, unbelievable relations between Israel and the US. They know that, in a way, Israel is a key to Washington. And frankly, the Americans knew very well how to benefit from that and how to create partnerships between Israel, the US, and Arab countries. And I think that India is also connected to those projects as the Eastern hub for the IMEC project and other projects. So this is what we need in the Middle East. We need prosperity, we need cooperation, we need progress, not blood and wars. So this is what we bring to the table against what the Iranians bring to the table: a Shia revolution, which is really full of blood and death, something that we really don't need in the Middle East.
So let me draw your attention to Lebanon. How long will these operations continue? Because Hezbollah is both a political and a military force. So in context of, doing away the threat, my question is, the Hezbollah is like a multiple entity: overground workers, underground workers, military, intelligence, political workers, maybe social workers. How do you deal with that?
Well, Hezbollah is clearly an organ of the Iranian revolution. Without Iran, there is no Hezbollah. Without Iranian money, Iranian training, etc., there will be no Hezbollah. There is no reason. There is no one reason that there will be no the peaceful relations between Israel and Lebanon. Both countries, both peoples will benefit from peace between Israel and Lebanon. We are ready for that. The only player which is against, or the two players which are against it, are Iran and Hezbollah. So as long as Hezbollah has the military power in Lebanon that prevents the government from taking more steps towards peaceful relations with Israel, it will be difficult to achieve that desired peace. But I'm optimistic because in recent months, we saw interesting steps from the Lebanese government, which indicate that they are interested in a dialogue with Israel, and Hezbollah is not as strong as it was before to block such attempts by the government. Only 2 days ago, there was the first ever one-to-one telephone conversation between the Israeli ambassador in Washington, D.C., and the Lebanese ambassador in Washington, D.C. For you, it's banal. For me, it's revolutionary that such a telephone conversation took place. So with the help of the Americans, I hope that we can develop this nascent relationship between Israel and Lebanon that at the end, not in the too distant future, will bring about peace between Israel and Lebanon. But for that, we need countries of the world to support the Lebanese government to fend off pressures from Iran and from Hezbollah and to fulfill the Security Council resolution that is calling for the disarmament of Hezbollah.
Okay.
Without that, it will be very difficult for the Lebanese government to move forward in its relations with the State of Israel.
What is your assessment? I know you're not a soothsayer, sir. You are a diplomat. How long will this conflict last?
Very difficult, maybe impossible to answer to that question. I think that all the people that you interviewed and will interview will give you the same answer because it depends on one person only, on President Donald Trump. And we have no idea, and we cannot double guess him. He can decide tomorrow morning to end the war because it's a victory and there is no reason to continue with it, or he can continue it on and on and on as he threatens from tonight, blockading the Straits of Hormuz, and God knows where this will bring us in the next few days. So I don't know. I really don't know. And, you know, we may find ourselves in the same situation where we were in the last year, that after this clash, there will be a pause of few weeks or few months, and it will continue later on in the year or next year. So the short answer is, I don't know.
And my last question to you, sir, is Israel confident of the fact that the Iranian military and nuclear capabilities have been significantly degraded, especially nuclear?
Yes, but not enough. Yes, but not enough, because they still have somewhere underground, with or without access to it, the enriched uranium that cannot stay in Iran if we want to declare real victory. Without that, there is no victory. And the other problem is not only the material problem, the enriched uranium, it's the ambition. As long as Iranian regime will have the ambition to acquire military nuclear capability, there will be no end to this saga. And it's very difficult to extract from the brain of such people the desire to have the nuclear power, the nuclear capability to destroy other countries. So I go back to my point of departure. Without a regime change in Iran, we cannot expect real peace between Iran and the region, Iran and the US, and Iran and Israel.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining me for Tel Aviv, and stay safe.